Good morning, year one. How are you today? Welcome to your English lesson today. Now, we're going to start with our recap first, and I'm going to ask you some questions, and then we're going to move on to our lesson. So, these are just at the top of your worksheet today. So, my first question is, which is not a setting for a traditional tale? Seaside, forest, countryside. So, you can circle the word of the one that's not a setting for a traditional tale. And then the next question is, which of these features appears in a traditional tale? So you can tick more than one if you need to. A villain, a repeated phrase such as once upon a time, days out in the park, magic element. Pause the video here and have a go at answering those now. Welcome back. How did you get on with that? So let's see. I wonder if you got the same as me. Shall we see? So first, which is not a setting for a traditional tale? Now I know that the Gingerbread Man and Jack and the Beanstalk was set in the countryside. Oh, and the Three Little Pigs as well. And I know that Little Red Riding Hood was definitely set in the forest. I can't remember any story that was set in the seaside. Can you? No. So the seaside is the one that is not a setting for a traditional tale. Now, the next one, which of these features in a traditional tale? There's always a villain, and there's always that repeated phrase. In Jack and the Beanstalk, it's fee, fi, fo, fum. And in Gingerbread Man, it's run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the Gingerbread Man. Okay, so those two are definitely in a traditional tale. Days out in the park. Oh, I don't think that's in a traditional tale. Do you? No. But there is a magic element. When things happen, for example, the gingerbread man coming to life, Jack planting his magic beans, animals talking, that is definitely in there. Well done if you got those. Fantastic. Okay, so today, let me move my picture out of the way. Okay, today we're going to be sequencing a story. So, to be successful in this sequencing of a story, you'll need to be able to name the main characters in the story so you know where they come in and out of the story. To be able to recall the key events, so the main things that happen in the story. Do you remember when we did the three billy goats gruff, and we had to recall the facts in 5? So try and do lots of that. You're going to be doing lots of talking today, lots of oracy today. So you're really getting out all that information that's in your mind, and you keep talking and saying and telling the story again and again, and that will help you to remember. So then, once you've done lots of that, you can put those key events into the correct order. So then you've got the story sorted. Okay, let's move on then. So let's read the story again today. I'm going to just stop this and I'm going to get my story up. Okay, are we ready? So, Hansel and Gretel. Let's begin. Are you sitting comfortably? Fantastic. Once upon a time, there lived 2 children called Hansel and Gretel. They lived with their father and stepmother in a house in the woods. Their father was a woodcutter. This is in a setting of the woods as well. Amazing. The woodcutter was very poor, and he could no longer provide food for his family. One night, his wife suggested that they take the children into the forest and leave them there. That's not very nice at all, is it? Hansel and Gretel overheard what their stepmother had said, and they were very sad. Hansel crept outside. Do you remember we said that word? It's moving slowly and quietly so no one hears you, and found some white pebbles. They shone brightly in the moonlight. He filled his pockets with pebbles and crept back inside. The next morning, they all went for a walk in the forest, and as they walked, Hansel dropped pebbles along the path. Good thinking, Hansel. They went further and further into the forest. Hansel and Gretel grew tired, so the woodcutter made a fire and told them to rest here. When they awoke, they were all alone. But Hansel's plan had worked. He could follow the stones all the way home. When they arrived home, the woodcutter was overjoyed. However, their stepmother was very cross. Later that night, she told the woodcutter that she must get rid of the children again. The next day, the stepmother gave Hansel and Gretel 2 slices of bread for their breakfast, and they set out into the forest again. This time they walked a lot further into the heart of the forest. Remember, that meant the very middle of the forest. As they walked along, Hansel dropped breadcrumbs along the path. When the children were tired, the woodcutter told them to gather wood so that he could build them a fire. He told them to rest by the fire, and once again they fell asleep. And when they awoke again, they found themselves alone. Hansel was not worried. He told Gretel about the breadcrumbs. But when they looked along the path, they found they'd been eaten by the birds and the animals in the forest. Hansel and Gretel walked and walked through the forest, and eventually they came across an amazing house. It was made of gingerbread and decorated with sweets and icing and lollipops. It looked delicious. Hansel and Gretel began to eat the sweets. Then, all of a sudden, an old woman came out of the gingerbread house, and she invited them both inside. But once the children were inside, they found that the old woman was very cruel. Do you remember that meant mean and nasty and horrible? She locked Hansel in a cage as she wanted to fatten him up and eat him. One day, the old woman showed Gretel where the oven was and where she was going to cook Hansel. Gretel decided to trick the old woman. She told her, that Hansel was too big to fit in the oven, and the old woman leaned forward to take a closer look. And Gretel pushed her straight into the oven. Yay, go Gretel! Next, Gretel found the key to the cage and unlocked it so Hansel could get out. They were overjoyed! Before leaving the house, Hansel and Gretel had a look around the gingerbread house. They found a chest full of gold coins, so they decided to bring the chest home with them. After a really long walk through the forest, Hansel and Gretel eventually found a path they recognised. They ran excitedly along the path, and they finally saw their home in the distance. And there, outside the cottage, was their father. Their stepmother had died, and now they had enough riches to last them a lifetime, and they would never be hungry again. And all 3 of them lived happily ever after. What a lovely story. I really enjoy that story. Do you? Fantastic. So then, we've read the story. Can you recall who were the characters? So have a look at my picture here. Can you recall their names and who they were? Pause the video if you need to. Have a quick chat. Can you remember them? Let's see. Well, we've got Hansel, and we've got Gretel, and we've got the woodcutter, the farmer, and we've got the evil, cruel stepmother, and then we've got the horrible witch, haven't we? Well done if you remembered those there. Now then, I've got some pictures here. I've got a little bit confused. Can you tell me which picture comes first? Let me talk you through them. So I've got Hansel and Gretel in the forest with the fire, but they're all alone. The evil stepmother and the woodcutter, and she's looking very cross. Or Gretel pushing a witch into the oven. Which of these pictures came first? So I don't want to know them in order. I just want to know which one came first. Pause the video here. Have a chat with the person in the room. Welcome back. What did you decide? Let's see if you were correct. It was that one where the evil stepmother told the woodcutter to take the children to the forest because they couldn't afford to keep them anymore. She's very mean. Well done if you got that. Okay, so my next question is, did Hansel use bread or stones to help him at the start of the story? So the first time they went into the forest, did they use bread or stones to help him? Pause the video here. Have a chat with the person in the room. What did you decide? Let's see. I wonder if you're right. Oh, it was stones. Did you get that? Brilliant. Remember, they shone in the moonlight, didn't they? And that's why he picked them, because he could see them glistening and glittering as he would walk home. Okay, well done if you got that. And there they are on the floor. Now then, what was happening here? Can you remember what happened here? Pause the video here. Have a chat with the person in the room. Fantastic. Welcome back. What did you decide? That's right. Well done. This is where the woodcutter had to leave Hansel and Gretel. He told them to stay by the fire, and then they fell asleep, and then he left them. I bet he felt very sad doing that. Now here, let me move my picture up to here so you can see. What was the second item that Hansel took to leave a trail? What was the second item Hansel took to leave a trail in the forest? Can you remember? Pause the video here. Have a chat with the person in the room. Shall we see if you're right? So he had, let's see, some bread. Did you get that? Fantastic. And he left the trail of breadcrumbs. But what happened to this trail of breadcrumbs? Can you remember? That's right, the crows and the animals ate it. So he couldn't find his way back home. They were lost. They were lost in the forest. And that's how they ended up finding something else. So they were lost in the forest. They walked and walked. And then they came across something. Can you remember what it was that they came across? That's right. It's the gingerbread house. Well done. Yes, so they came across the gingerbread house. Look at that delicious house. I think I'd love to live there. Although I think I might feel a little bit sick after eating all parts of the walls all the time. Okay, let's move on then. Now then, here, can you tell me what was happening here? Why was Gretel feeling sad? And why was Hansel in the cage? Can you remember? That's right. She is sad because the witch wants to eat Hansel and she's fattening him up. And Gretel is feeling sad because the witch has just told her that that is where she's going to cook Hansel. Oh, dearie me. Now then, after they killed the witch by shoving her into the oven, pushing her in and shutting the door, what did they find in the house? Can you remember that? They did. They found gold coins. Well done. And can you remember that last part? I wonder if you could say it with me. They lived happily ever after. Well done, year one. Now, activity time. So you have got this storyboard on your worksheet, and you can print off as many of these as what you need. But you are going to draw each part of the story. So here I've drawn the evil stepmom, the woodcutter, and Hansel and Gretel. And then in the next one, I've drawn the woodcutter taking Hansel and Gretel to the woods. And in the last one, I've drawn a picture of Hansel's stones that he's left on the floor. Now, I'd like you to draw me. You don't need to do any writing today. You're just drawing the key events of the story. Have fun with that, year one, and I'm really looking forward to seeing your storyboard. You take care now, and I will see you very soon. Bye-bye.